Advisory is out on Hurricane Dorian, still Category 4, a strong Cat 4 at 150 miles an hour. The Hurricane Center believes it'll go Cat 5 in the next 12 hours. Over the next day to day and a half, we expect westward motion continues. And, anybody who lives on the east side of the state just looking in that direction, that's a scary sight, especially when it has not turned yet. And we think it's going to be 2 days before it actually slows down and stalls right over the Bahamian Islands, the western side of the islands. And with that being the case, I think there's a pretty decent chance that at that point, the ridge up north begins to weaken and we see a turn to the north. How quickly that turn occurs and how close it is to the coast is still just too close to call. These are the warnings, hurricane warnings across the northwestern Bahamas, from the Abaco Islands back to Grand Bahama. It is going to be devastating, I'm afraid to say, in this area. They're going to see Cat 4 winds, maybe up to 5 for about 2 straight days. Tropical storm watches remain in effect across the coastal areas in our neck of the woods, down across the Gold and the Treasure Coast. So here is the updated track. It doesn't look much different from the earlier on. In fact, our models over the last 6 hours, a few, are trying to trend maybe just a bit back to the west. That doesn't necessarily concern us that it's going to make it all the way to the coast, but I do think it's a pretty telltale sign that each model run has been moving east. That has now stopped. It all boils down to how slow the storm is and how far west it goes before actually making that northern turn. And let me explain what we're talking about here. So it's about 100 miles, this track, they're going about 100 miles from there to the coast of Florida. Tropical storm force winds extend 105 miles. Hurricane force winds only 30. It's still a rather small storm. So obviously the closer that it gets to the coast, even if it doesn't make landfall, the winds will be on the increase. And at the very least, they're looking at tropical storm conditions anyway. But we're only talking about 100 miles in 4 days. So once you start talking about a margin of error that close, it gets a little nerve-wracking. Now you notice where there's still a ton of agreement on this curve, a ridge will weaken, and that will cause this to eventually try to escape off to the northeast. But the biggest question is, will it be here, will it be here, or will it be here? We're literally talking maybe 60, 70 miles difference, and that could have a huge impact on whether or not this storm actually has a big impact on southeast Florida before it starts to turn north and eventually northeast up toward the Carolinas. So at this point, we continue to track it. New model data is coming in over the next several hours. We'll have it for you, as always, right here on your ABC Action News station.